Did you ever see that Blue Man Group? Total ripoff of the Smurfs. And the Smurfs. They suck!
Hanna-Barbera, one of the most prominent animation studios in the medium's history. Founded on July 7th, 1957, this studio would be known for once being the kings of Saturday morning cartoons, creating a plethora of animated content for audiences of all ages. Their influence stands strong within our animation zeitgeist, but even the most impressive champions have a few flaws. Yes, even Hanna-Barbera fell victim to the hellscape known as live-action adaptations. In a previous video, I touched on one of their franchises, Scooby-Doo, and its cult classic cinematic releases. This time, we'll be covering the theatrical exploits of the one and only Smurfs franchise. While not as well known as, say, the Flintstones, they still managed to hold a strong cultural impact more than a decade later. So with such a presence, it would be a no-brainer that there would be films involved. For this video, I'll go over the first two live-action adaptations as well as Lost Village, its fully animated feature. So without any further delay, let's begin. We start our journey with the first cinematic Smurfs film released in 2011, another film getting the live-action treatment. I mentioned this before, but there was a time frame where live-action adaptations would be the standard in family entertainment, the majority of which would be filled to the brim with unfunny references and endless product placement, all with the goal of maximizing revenue instead of wanting to provide a good movie experience. And sadly, the Smurfs movie falls into the same category. The film focuses on Smurf Village as they become attacked by the sinister wizard Gargamel, who chases them through the forest. Grouchy, clumsy, brainy, gutsy Smurfette and Papa get separated from the group and get sucked into a portal which takes them to where most family films lead to, New York City. There they meet a couple named Patrick and Grace, who help the Smurfs acquire a spell to get them back home. Unfortunately, Papa Smurf gets captured, leading to Patrick and the other Smurfs going to rescue him, while Brainy opens a portal back to Smurf Village. Smurfette manages to trap Azrael in a cage and rescue Papa Smurf. Meanwhile, Brainy leads an army of Smurfs and the group attack Gargamel head-on. When it seems all hope is lost, Gutsy knocks the dragon wand out of Gargamel's hand and Clumsy catches it, instead using its magic to send the villain flying. The film then ends with the Smurfs saying goodbye to their new friends and going back home to repair Smurf Village. Now, a plot synopsis like that sounds as different from a Smurfs movie as you can get. And yeah, it is. But I'm willing to find positives in it, because I believe if you want to be a reviewer of any kind, if you ever want to act like you deserve any respect in the realm of reviewing media, you must be willing to speak about any ungodly film in a constructive way, because unless you have the wherewithal to prove that given the chance you could have done better, then I'm sorry to say that your opinion would just end up being worthless in the end. With that said, there are a few glaring issues that do give the film its unfavorable reputation. The CGI. While on some animals, like Azrael, it looks fine, the main issue is the Smurfs themselves. You can tell they wanted to capture more realism, hence the wrinkles, freckles, and more realistic eyes. But it just doesn't look appealing in the slightest, and instead falls smack dab into the uncanny valley. Another problem with the film is the actors themselves. Don't get me wrong, Neil Patrick Harris is a great actor, and has done some notable stuff like How I Met Your Mother, but it just feels like he's asleep in this movie. Even when he's given scenes in this film that are intended to be funny, he just looks like he's phoning it in. Hell, half the time he doesn't even look like he's interested. I'm not expecting Broadway level acting in a Smurfs movie, but come on, put at least a little effort. The references to Google, E.T., Guitar Hero, and modern day pop songs just leave the film dated even back in 2011. But there are a few positives that I can find in the movie. For one, Gargamel's actor Hank Azaria does try his best to give a good performance. It's no Matthew Lillard, but for what it is, it's tolerable for the most part. He conveys the same mannerisms and replicates the voice just fine, but it's nothing special. But other than that, the film's mediocre at best. While there are a few moments that gave me a chuckle, and I use the term lightly, I don't see myself coming back to this film anytime soon. The first Smurfs film was an unsurprising hit, making $563.7 million worldwide, and so, released 2 years later, was a sequel titled Smurfs II. With the criticism I gave to the first film, does this film improve on the first in any way, shape or form? Well, let's dive deep into this train wreck as we cover Smurfs II. Our story continues a few years later after the first film, where Smurfette thinks that no one in the village is celebrating her birthday. Unfortunately, she gets kidnapped and taken to Gargamel, who has become a star playing out to sold-out theaters everywhere. But he needs more essence, so he plans on making his creations called Naughty's Blue II to extract their essence and take over the world. Meanwhile, Papa, Grouchy, Clumsy, and Vanity head over to New York, where the four, along with Patrick and Grace from the last film, travel to Paris to rescue Smurfette. Later on in the film, Smurfette figures out that the Naughties could die without Smurf essence, so she gives Gargamel the formula that Papa used to make her blue, much to the others' demise. The situation looks dire for our little blue people until Patrick and his stepfather Victor rescue them by smashing an orb containing the drained Smurf essence. The film then ends with the Smurfs returning home once more and Smurfette celebrating her birthday with the new family she's found on her journey. As far as my views on this film goes, it doesn't differ from the first film by much, but somehow there are a few elements that made it unbearable for me to sit through. One of them being the subplot between Patrick and Victor. It just keeps popping up in between the story. As much as it was hard for me to sit through this film, I did actually try my best to become invested in the story, as cliche as it was. The only problem standing in my way was the unnecessary B-plot that contributes nothing to the film other than try to spark an emotional arc, but badly failing at it. Other than that, once again, the movie ends up being a real snooze fest. At the end of the day, it's not necessarily a step up from the original. The only thing that I can really describe it as just plain boring, and that by far is the worst thing any piece of media could ever be. Now up until this point, the first two films have admittedly been very disappointing in my opinion, with empty shells of characters, hokey and lazy writing, and visuals likely to make you more seasick than entertained. However, ladies and gentlemen, there is one saving grace that I have found to be pretty enjoyable in terms of cinematic Smurf releases. That of course being the 2016 CGI animated film titled Smurfs: The Lost Village. The movie is about Smurfette, as she's the only person in Smurf Village without a properly defined personality. This further gets pushed after an experiment with Brainy's machine goes haywire. To get their minds off the sadness, Clumsy, Hefty, Brainy, and Smurfette all go Smurfboarding. There, Smurfette finds another Smurf not from their village. Unfortunately, Gargamel discovers this too, so Smurfette and the others go on an epic quest to go find the lost village. The crew travel many wondrous destinations before reaching the village, including a magical spiraling river, a nest of dragonflies, and a bunch of live and dangerous flowers. Eventually, they make it to Smurfy Grove and warn the village of Gargamel. Unfortunately, the previously mentioned villain captures all the Smurfs, leaving Smurfette alone all by herself. After a realization from Snappy Bug that she's not a real Smurf, she uses the power she does have to absorb Gargamel's magic, freeing the Smurfs in the process, but sadly paying the price by turning back into a lump of clay. Luckily, through the power of Smurf magic, she gets brought back to life. The film then ends with the entire village celebrating the journey they've gone through throughout the film, and Gargamel getting his just desserts. Although the film isn't anything special from a story perspective, honestly it was a great palate cleanser after watching two abominations that had no effort put into their stories whatsoever. The animation is nice, smooth, and clean. The story is actually pretty good at times, and the voice cast is actually entertaining throughout the film. Some of the delivery genuinely got a laugh out of me sometimes. Although it may not be anything groundbreaking for animation, I still highly recommend this one. It has a few elements in it that do make it a good watch at the end of the day. To end this video off, I just wanted to say that this is all my opinion. If you are a fan of these movies, don't let anything I said here sway you. But I am interested in what you guys think of these movies. Leave your opinions in the comments down below. Anyways, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at GeekToons and join my Discord server to hang out with me and other cartoon fans. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.